The most obvious parts of your web page are going to be the HTML elements that display on the page itself. However, browsers and search engines also require additional information about your page that help these tools understand what's really going on. This will be defined in the head of your HTML document, and I'll show you how to set this up. You may be used to writing HTML just casually like this, where you write a heading and you put the text that you want inside it and close it with an H1 tag. However, when you're actually building web pages on the web, you need to include important information about a page itself. For example, the title of the page that might appear in a browser's bar, which I can show you here on OpenClassrooms. You see up in the browser's bar up here, this little tab says Learn the command line in terminal. That's the title of the page, but how did the browser get that information? It's within something called the head of your HTML document. It will include a lot more information beyond just the page title usually. Let's start with a structure, sort of boilerplate, anonymous structure that most HTML documents have when they're actually live on the web. They look like this. First, the document type is defined as being HTML, and we have an opening HTML tag with a language of English, and this might be different depending on the language of the page. The lang attribute only helps browsers understand the language that your content is in. Same thing for search engines. Now we see these opening and closing head tags and opening and closing body tags. The body is where your visible content lives. So this is where you would write your headings, paragraphs, and more, depending on your page needs. It's where you also might have a nav or a footer, etc. Everything goes in the body, which is usually larger than the head. Inside the head, you put information about the page itself. Now, without getting into too much detail, let's see what you might actually put in a document head. We have the title of the page inside title tags. This is what appears in the browser's tab that we looked at earlier that showed the title of an OpenClassrooms course. Your page title should be pretty succinct if possible. Meta charset, or character set, is a way to describe the types of characters on the page, which might be different if you're using a language that doesn't have the same letter system as English, French, etc. The meta name description is used by search engines to show the description of your page as a search result. For example, on line 1 of a search result, you might see the page title, and right below you might see the page description. Next up in a head, you usually have links to external files that are useful for the HTML. Most often this is a style sheet where you'll write your CSS. This CSS will alter the appearance of the HTML according to styles that you set and customize yourself. You might also have links to an icon that would appear in the browser's bar as well, like this little O up here on the OpenClassrooms page. Lastly, inside the head of an HTML document, you often have social sharing tags. These tags are useful for websites like Facebook and Twitter so that they can show relevant content for your page as a Facebook post or as a tweet. For example, looking at Twitter, if we look at a New York Times article and the way it appears as a tweet, you'll see that there's an image and a title and description of the article here included as part of the tweet. If we look at the article and then use something called view source, which is usually an option in your browser to look at the raw code of any website, very useful as you're learning to code, we can search for Twitter in here and find a number of Twitter-related tags in the document's head. If you want more information about social sharing stuff, you can look at either Facebook or Twitter developer tools, and they'll give you information on how to include elements that will render your content on either site appropriately. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this course though, and what I want you to remember is just that you should be including these elements always inside your HTML head.